Hello again. Okay, again, not sure how I feel about this, if this is gonna work well, but we're in front of the fireplace getting our back warmed up. We just got home from work and I have like just under an hour till I need to walk the dog again, so we're gonna quick do this video. I don't know, this feels very close up and personal and intimate, more than I intended, but we gave up on the little iPad stand because it just keeps falling over, and I'm like, I don't have time to try and figure out how to tighten it right now, and we're just like, and plus it's so warm here, but I don't know, it's a vibe too, right? See, got all our candles up there, and there's not a whole lot going on, but okay, well, yes, we did make us some tea though before we started, so it's our rooibos. It's one of our favorites, a red tea. Maybe I don't keep it on the carpet. This could be dangerous. And then we also have our little hot hand, which we've been using to keep us warm when we've been out. And then we have some of our little, I love this one, oh my god, for when I'm needing to just like think, process certain things. I was using this the other day, really going in on it and like just trying to stretch it, oh my god, as far as possible, really get in there, and then it just goes right back down. Yes, so love this thing. And then we got our little, ooh, where's the camera? Oh, hell yeah, that's that would make a good thumbnail, the little Senna just saying hi. Anyways, where do we begin? Okay, so I have the phone up against the laptop here. We already got it pulled up. Okay, well, real quick, right? So originally last night when I got home from work, I was like, we're gonna go to bed early here so that I can get up early Thursday morning, since that's already, oh my god, wait, I'm stuck. We also have Sweet Bessem here again, so we got our watch stuck on her, but yeah, so I was thinking that I would get up early this morning to film this so that I would have time to upload it in time before, I got off this evening, my weekend starts, like I wouldn't have to worry about it then. But every time we make plans, of course, it's like sometimes God, Spirit, the universe has other plans for us. So we ended up having trouble falling asleep last night, and I'm like, how much do I say? They're just seemingly out of nowhere, or at least it caught us off guard. I had a spontaneous panic attack, and like I said, it really caught us off guard, and it was quite intense. We haven't had to deal with that in a long time, so I was a little confused myself. I was like, whoa, like what's going on here? Yeah, but just tried to like feel our way through it, breathe, whatever. Oh my god, I still have like tissues on my floor from last night of just like, we were like full meltdown there for a little bit of just like snot, tears everywhere. It was intense. And again, I was like so tired from the day, and I was like, no, I need to like get up, and I only have so many hours. I think by the time I actually did end up falling asleep, I only had like a few hours till the morning, so I was like, ugh. But yeah, that happened, and it just kind of, threw things off a bit. So we're here now. Yes. And it's, I try to practice more emotional coherence. It's a word, I don't even know what the fuck that means. Where are we pulling that from? But like when I am experiencing something and I don't necessarily always understand why or like where it's originating from, I will typically, even if I'm at work or out or with people, like I'll try to, process if I have a moment here or there or whatever, but like as things come up and not put it off for too long, because there was a time in my life when I did do that, and this kind of all ties into some of what's going on, right? Because as we'll talk about here in a minute, you know, Mercury just stationed direct in Scorpio and activated the grand water trine for the last time here, seeing us out of that energy, thank God. And that also hits us in our 6th house, which is our Pluto again. And I'm just like, dear God, save us. So, you know, there's and it's a full moon, it's a time of releasing, and there's just like some old, you know, material and stuff coming up. But I just was like really caught off guard because it's not even like I was necessarily, at least not purposefully, consciously, like thinking of anything last night that I feel like would trigger me. And then just, it was like that. And I just was like, freaking out. Yeah. And really, I don't think I've had a panic attack that bad since a good friend of mine passed away like 10 years now, I think it was. Yeah, almost a decade ago. After she had died, I was like in a little bit of a spell there for a while where I was struggling with consistent panic attacks because it was a bit traumatic, like how that all happened with her. So yeah, so that's like the closest that we've been since something like that. And it, you know, hit us last night. I was just like, what the fuck? So anyways, that was that. And now we're here. So let's get into it. Full moon in Gemini. And so, okay, but I also say this to preface that, ooh, I got a little notification. Jupiter. Yeah, we've been a little bit more emotional. And so if we get a little teary, I was like crying again this morning while I was getting ready for work, on my way to work. I was like, I think I still have maybe some tears staying on my cheek. I don't know. Like, I just was like, I got home, and when I went into the bathroom and like looked in the mirror, I was like, I never wiped my face. I was like, whatever, what the fuck ever, bitch. But just, so if we get a little, it's all a part of it. Oh dear. We might get a little vulnerable with this one, even though that, you know, again, wasn't necessarily our intention, but it's what happens. Okay, let's just get into this now. 7 minutes in. Okay. Yes, so we're gonna go through our notes again, our little write-up that we did, and we'll kind of talk about things here and there as we go. So, Gemini. We got a full moon in Gemini going on. Gemini is a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury, occupying the 3rd house, representing communication, involving things like intelligence, technology, early education, acquiring knowledge. Okay, this is the other thing. I didn't, like, even though I finished writing this, I did not do a, like, quick look over before we started talking just now, and I was like, why is that in there? It doesn't matter. It's just, you know. Okay, that's the other funny thing about this one, too, right? So, I am a Gemini rising, and I have a lot of different things in my 1st house, which is where Gemini is for us. And we also have a lot of Virgo placements. And so we have a lot of mercurial influence in our chart. And so it was funny because as I was writing this, I could feel the like overthinking, overanalyzing, like doing entirely too much at certain points where it's like, as I'm just reading this now, I'm like, we have all these like brackets with, it just goes on and on and on. And as you'll see in a little bit, we did that when we were going over like the light and shadow aspects of Gemini too. It's silly, but so we just like, it's a little over the top, but that's just, we get like that. So, okay, anyways. Yes, so other aspects of communication, flirtation, small talk. I just read that and I was like, why? Okay, moving on. Daily rituals, travel, short or local trips, various modes of transportation, presence amongst mobility. I should have read this through. Platonic bonds, relationships, like siblings, cousins, extended family, neighbors, peers, coworkers, kindred spirits, and symbiotic relationships. Dear God, it's very wordy. It's so wordy and lengthy, but that's the energy. You know, it's very much in line with what the energy is. And we don't even necessarily do that on purpose. It's just like how we feel and process things. It's just funny how it ends up coming out like that. So, and you know, some of the archetypes and themes associated with Gemini And Mercury is like the trickster spirit, right? Little clown who I love and adore. And so it's like we definitely got a bit of that in us. We love to jest. Okay. Mercury stationed direct in Scorpio and will be heading into Sagittarius next week, following behind the Sun and Venus and Mars, leading us out of the sign and into the upcoming Capricorn season, along with Lilith trailing close behind. My lisp was coming through there a little bit. Lilith the trailing. What did it? Dear God. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? So, yeah, I used to have a speech impediment when I was little. I had to actually see a speech therapist. I think it was in... I was either in elementary school or was like right on the edge there of like 4th or 5th grade, like as we were transitioning to middle school. 5th, 6th, I think it was like 5th, something around there. Where I would always mix up my R's and W, or like I couldn't say my R's, and so they would come out as W's. So like I would say grandma, and I'm thinking like rowdy, like rowdy. I don't know, bitch. What? What else is another R word? The first thing that comes to my mind is crazy. R words. Rainbow. Rainbow. Things like that, yeah. And I don't know, like, how much I necessarily paid too much attention to, like, bullying and teasing and stuff like that when I was a kid, but, because I don't even know that I necessarily would have, like, of my own accord necessarily noticed it or like advocated for myself to get the therapy. So I think back to it and I'm like, how did that even come about? You know, like, was it recommended by my teacher? Did my grandmother do it? Like, because I could care it less, kind of. Like, it still comes up now, but it's just kind of funny to me. Anyways, little tidbit, little fact for you, right? So yeah, if we mess up the words a little bit, that is that. Okay, where are we? The influence of Gemini helps us in discovering... I'm just going to use the arrows now. We don't need to keep with the little trackpad. Okay. The influence of Gemini helps us in discovering beyond the self, reaching out to explore our universal language. What the fuck does that mean? And becoming more inclusive in our relationship with self, others, and the universe. Okay, this is a great time for taking a close look at the karma or karmic lessons associated with these energies and how they are at play in both our personal lives as well as the collective conscious. That's the only part that we keep, like, copy-pasting in between these notes. At some point, we want to make an actual, what are they fucking called? I need to stop. Why we zoom? What are they called? Like an outline. We have some of those for like our other astrological studies, but we haven't made one for this yet. But that way we can just kind of follow the same model instead of going about it the way we have been. Okay, anyways, let's carry on. They're a little scattered. Yeah. You don't say. Okay, karma associated with the 3rd house would have us look at our patterns of thinking and communication. Things like thought loops, breakdowns, ineffective communication, feeling misunderstood or unheard, early childhood relationships where we might have experienced things like judgment, comparisons, criticisms, bullying, imbalances in the relationships, and our learning, including things like intellectual pursuits, acquiring knowledge, our ability to learn, or learning disabilities. I'm just thinking as I'm reading this, when we're gonna get into talking about some of like my personal experience and again how I've applied this, because we have like a ton of stuff that we could talk about, but again we have to be mindful of the time here, so we'll see what we get into as we get down. I think in the karma section we'll do that. We have some personal examples already lined up. All right, so the light this part, bitch. This is the part that I was saying was funny because, okay, we were into the like light and shadow attributes of Gemini. And when I was writing these earlier, and you're about to hear, this is a little over the top. Like compared to the last 2 write-ups we did, we have the most, I think, words to describe the different attributes this time around. And as I was writing this earlier, I realized how imbalanced it was, where like the light had so many different attributes. And then for shadow, there was only like 3 or 4. And I was like, this looks a little funny, it looks a little off. And I'm like, am I biased? Am I partial to Gemini? Do I love Gemini? That I'm just like really hyping them up here? Okay, so Okay, light attributes for Gemini. So we have curious, funny, humorous, fun-loving, playful, dynamic, imaginative, energetic, enigmatic, versatile, adaptable, level-headed, rational, logical, friendly, open-minded, outgoing, sociable, witty, lighthearted, fascinating, charming, goofy, tender, adorable. I don't... This is so funny, bitch, because adorable... I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a light attribute specifically for Gemini. It could be because of their association with like the inner child and things like that. But it's just funny because some of these you could really use interchangeably with other signs and with other archetypes. It's just, we really went in on this one. And also, you know, there are certain characters or people that like we can think of or know that are Gemini that also influence these things. And we're like, oh, hell yeah. Anyways, go on. Shadow, inconsistency, indecision, superficiality, impulsiveness, restlessness, erratic, chaotic, fickle, cunning, unstable, volatile, emotionally disconnected, cold detachment, aloof, manipulative, calculating, strategic. What a vast difference that one was, huh? But the other way that, you know, we look at these, as with a lot of different things, you know, like the light can be associated with like more strengths and shadow with more weaknesses, but at the same time, things can be interchangeable too, right? Like we need both to be like a balanced person and live a whole life. So certain things, like I put like chaotic in shadow, for example, but like I love a chaotic personality. And, you know, I tend to be a bit that myself, you know, and so it can be considered a more shadow aspect because we associate order more so with light. But it doesn't necessarily make it like a bad or negative thing. It's just like a matter of like how accepting we are of those traits within ourselves and how much we've integrated them so that they're no longer unconsciously like running the show for us, right? And like causing us or, you know, being a bigger influence on our behavior in our life and in our relationships when we are more in a state of like flow of our life and in control of certain aspects, right? So that they're no longer harming ourselves and other people. So yeah, we can, you know, it can be considered shadow, but it also like we love it. Yes. And strategic too, right? Like strategy has its place in the world. There are certain times that like we need to be strategic, but there are also other times and places where strategy should not be involved. And you could say like one of those places is love. Like the second that someone introduces like strategy or competition into love, it's almost guaranteed to fail. So like there, you know, certain things like that where it's like if you're playing a game, right? Or if you like have someone on your team, it would be a good thing or a plus, you know, an asset if they are strategic and they can bring something, you know, to help you win. But again, like different areas, it's, you know, more of a strength. In other areas, it's like no go. So, okay, continuing on. Yes. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the good goods here with our reflection. Yes. So, my phone's kind of blocking the screen, so we don't have as much area to see as we would otherwise. So for our reflection, breaking it down by like the karma section, we have early childhood, communication, and learning is what we separated them into, our 3 categories again. Put a lot of thought into this. And then our questions for consideration, for reflection, for journaling, for meditation, however we want to look at those kinds of things. Let's go on. So for early childhood, who were or are the influential people in my extended family or community in my youth? What specific impact did they have in my life, how I was raised, or how my thinking mind developed? What have I enjoyed and learned from my mental connections with self and or others? What thinking or mental patterns have I carried from childhood? Do these patterns serve my present life and goals? If not, in what ways am I able to take steps towards altering this pattern? What resources are available if I am in need of assistance in my discovery process? It's, again, as soon as I started reading those, we really calmed down. Because I think again, as I was writing these and ordering them, I tend to think from some of my own experience, but also an outside perspective, like how is someone else that would hear this or read this, how is it going to make them feel, right? And especially because we know the vast like variety of backgrounds that people come from, and when we talk about like how much trauma again can be tied to some of these experiences, and we're starting off kind of with a heavy hitter. I see it that way, right? Like early childhood, there is a lot in there, and yeah, like even for people who have had a fairly smooth life or easier upbringing, even if they didn't have really traumatic experiences growing up, they still have certain experiences that did really impact and shape them in some way or another. And for some people too, you know, I have met and talked with certain people over the years about some of these things, and it's been interesting to see like when, like sometimes people go through their lives and they don't even necessarily like revisit the past so much, or revisit their childhood or think about things like this. And so sometimes when it comes up for the first time, or it hasn't for a long time again, it can be like a little like throw people through a loop sometimes, and just, you know, it can get those wheels to start turning and get us thinking, or it can cause a lot of resistance, and, you know, it can have all kinds of effects. But we wanted to start, you know, all the way back in the past, start with there. Yeah. And because of Gemini's association with the inner child, and that being kind of like a foundational phase in our life of like what sets us up for, you know, not only the present moment we're in now, but our future and our life as a whole. Like it's very, very important, integral. So yeah, and because of our own experience with it, there's a lot of heavier stuff, and so we're just like, ooh, we got real gentle with that one, but we not usually like that bitch. So let's carry on. Yeah, I'm just seeing like when I want to bring up certain examples. Communication. What is my communication style? How can I learn more about the ways that I communicate with self and others? Do the ways in which I communicate accurately reflect who I am, my character and values, and how I would like to connect with others? Are there any alternative ways of communicating I may be interested in exploring? This one's suggestive. It's vague and it's suggestive, but we go along with this. How my ears keep popping. I'm like, is it the fire? Why are my ears popping? I feel like really in my head right now. They're just, I need a drink or something. We're having symptoms of what? I don't know. You blame it on the moon. Yeah, it's like our head's congested or something. Okay. Carrying on. Where were we? The suggestive question. How may I be able to utilize the conscious mind and intelligence, spiritual, emotional, social, etc., to connect more deeply and effectively with myself and others? So that's kind of where I was heading with that, of just like ways that we can think outside of the box more, use our mental capacities along with our emotional capacity, right, to explore more, not only of our own mind, but what is behind the mind, you know, and depending on, you know, what we think or believe about that, you know, we can see it as made up of many different parts. In psychology, you know, they talk about like the ego and the id and the super ego, and then there's like the more spiritual aspects where it's like there's consciousness, and then we have, you know, the shadow self, and there's a lot of different topics we can explore, right? And then as far as you know, different mental or psychic gifting, you know, there are many different ways that we can consider and explore what communicating looks like to us and how we participate in that, you know, in ourselves and in the world and with others. Yeah. So that's that. And then in what ways I able to freely, authentically, and unapologetically express the soul of my voice and inner world. Isn't that a beautiful one to leave after that? The little keys keep shifting. I'm like, why? I don't know what's happening. Learning what kind of things